Tonight, the terrifying moments that Delta plane burst into flames as it hit the runway.
It's something that I don't think you can ever even really prepare for.
The plane's landing gear appeared to collapse, eventually causing the plane to roll over with 80 passengers inside. Investigators are now reviewing the images. What we're learning about that crash at the Toronto Pearson Airport. A new winter blast is sweeping the country, 25 states under alert for snow and ice, with brutal cold from the teens to well below zero. Our Ginger Z times it all out. The nation's top Social Security official steps down. Instead of giving Elon Musk's team access to the personal information of millions of Americans, Musk is now setting his sights on America's gold reserves at Fort Knox as the White House defends his role in court.
Ukraine is not today in the position to start negotiations, that they need to have the stronger position.
Could the Trump administration be the key to Russia-Ukraine peace talks overseas? Inside the separate meetings among Europe's leaders as the unrelenting attacks on Ukraine continue.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime with Linsey Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Linsey Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We are awaiting the verdict in that ASAP Rocky assault trial, which is expected to be read at any moment. But we do begin with the harrowing new images of that Delta jet crash at Toronto's Pearson Airport and the growing questions about just what went wrong. Investigators are closely reviewing this new video of Delta Flight 4819 making a hard landing on the right landing gear, erupting in flames. And then that thick black smoke, the plane then started to roll. And we've heard more harrowing stories from passengers who literally were hanging upside down by their seatbelts. The heroic flight crew helping everyone get off that plane. All 80 people on board survived. At least 21 were injured, 2 remain hospitalized. But with a careful guidance from that 4-member flight crew, it was a miracle that everyone survived and a reminder to us all about the importance of seatbelts. Former Air Force pilot John Nance is standing by, and we'll hear from a passenger on board that plane. But first, ABC's Gio Benitez covers aviation and leads us off from Toronto.
Tonight, this stunning new video showing the moment that Delta Airlines flight crash-landed in Toronto. Investigators now reviewing the images. Its landing gear appearing to collapse. The right wing striking the ground, sparking flames, the plane flipping onto its back. A cloud of black smoke rising into the air.
We hit the runway extremely hard and we kind of popped up and it felt like we were leaning to the left. There was a giant firewall down the side. I could actually feel the heat through the glass. And then we were going sideways. I'm not even sure how many times we tumbled, but we ended upside down. I was hanging there in my seatbelt upside down.
The footage obtained by TMZ showing the Delta regional flight from Minneapolis touching down yesterday afternoon. Passenger John Nelson describing the harrowing moments inside, suspended by his seatbelt.
At this point now, you're literally hanging upside down in this plane.
I didn't want to hit my head. I wanted to make sure, I could stay safe as much as I could and just hold on and hope that we made it through that.
Everything, drop it!
Flight attendants
Come on!
Seen standing on the ceiling of the plane, helping passengers scrambling to escape. Nelson shooting this video moments after the crash.
We're in Toronto. We just landed. Our plane crashed. It's upside down. Fire department's on site.
At least 21 people injured, including a child. Patients treated for back sprains, head injuries, headaches, and nausea. But miraculously, all 80 passengers and crew were alive.
For everyone to have survived this, what does that mean to you?
I think I'm still processing it. It's when you see the videos and you live through it, nobody should have to go through that. It's crazy.
At the time of landing, winds gusting up to 40 miles per hour. The cause of the crash, though, still under investigation. The plane's charred fuselage now sitting frozen on the runway for examination. And tonight, that flight crew and those first responders who escorted everyone to safety hailed as heroes.
Every time you board a flight, you are greeted by flight attendants and by flight crew. We saw the most important role that they play in action yesterday. The crew of Delta Flight 4819 heroically led passengers to safety. I thank each and every one of these heroes.
And Lindsay, so many tonight focusing on what those passengers did right, wearing those seatbelts, listening to the flight attendants, getting out of that plane fast, and leaving that luggage behind, all of it likely saving lives.
I
Lindsay?
can imagine. All right, Gio, thank you. ABC News contributor and aviation analyst John Nance joins us now. And John, we're just seeing that new video of the Delta plane crash landing, that billowing smoke coming from it. What does that video tell you about what may have happened?
Well, the video corroborates the idea that with such a crosswind, about a 40-degree crosswind from the right, they were making a typical crosswind type of approach. You can see the right wing down a little bit, and the nose is up as it should be for the slower airspeed for landing. But at some point in time, I think we're going to find that the wind had shifted in one way or another, possibly giving them a situation of a higher sink rate than they expected. They came in and set down very hard on the right main landing gear, and that was the initiating sequence for the tumbling and for the loss of the wings.
And we heard from the Transportation Safety Board of Canada today. They say that investigators will be looking at the wreckage and also the runway. What exactly do you think that they'll be looking for?
They'll be looking for everything. There's nothing ruled in, nothing ruled out in this stage of an investigation with a professional team like the Canadians have, and they'll be assisted by the NTSB from the U.S. as well. They will literally look at virtually everything they can find. Non-perishable things, basically, that they can look at later will be done. Right now, they're making sure that they've got all the interviews possible and they've got all the wreckage possible put in a hangar eventually and examined there. This is going to be quite an investigation.
I'd imagine so. All right, John Nance, always appreciate your expertise. Thanks so much. We're joined now by Brian Erickson, a passenger on board that harrowing plane ride. Brian, thank you so much for joining us. So glad that you all made it off there safely. Just give us a sense of how you're feeling about it all today.
Well, thank you for that, first of all. It's the love and support that everybody has given us, from friends, family, strangers, has just been overwhelming. So yeah, it's 24 hours plus since the incident, and it's a little humbling, that 80 people were on that airplane and 80 people got off that airplane. It was incredible.
And we're looking at some video where you can see people actually hanging from the ceiling, supported in large part, we'd imagine, just by the seatbelts. Give us a sense of what happened. When did you first realize something was wrong?
We were coming in pretty hot. It seemed like it was a very rough landing. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, we're rolling to the right. What's going on? And then, we're upside down and sliding. It was a very interesting sensation. A lot of people praying, a lot of people saying, oh, no, 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 no. And when it finally ended and it was dead quiet, everybody leapt into action. Everybody was helping their neighbor. Everyone was helping out and just being, making sure everyone was okay and get off this airplane. Let's get out.
You said that some people were praying. Just take us to that moment for you personally. What was rolling through your mind? People say in those moments you see your life flash before your eyes. Was that the case for you?
Yeah. I mean, it was a very surreal. I think I've told people that it happened in an instant, but it lasted an eternity. It really was very, I didn't really understand what was going on. I just knew something wasn't right. And I don't recommend arriving in that fashion at all.
I don't know if you're a frequent flyer, but just curious what you think about getting on board another flight.
I do travel for my job. I'm okay with it. We actually flew back today from Toronto. I'm in Minneapolis. And personally, I'm okay with it. I know that it's one of the safest forms of travel. And, this is a very rare incident in multiple ways. This is so rare to have everybody walk away from this kind of carnage. And I can't fly to Canada. I can't find my passport. It's on that airplane.
Oh, got it. Okay. Well, Brian, again, we are so glad you are safe and sound tonight and willing to talk with us. So really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for reaching out. I hope that everybody else that was on that plane, if they hear this, that they get home safely, that they're getting the support and the help that they need.
We share that same sentiment. All right. Thank you so much, Brian. 100 million Americans are on alert for brutal cold tonight in 25 states, from the plains to the East Coast. A new winter storm is moving from Montana to Texas, all the way to the east and the mid-Atlantic. Ice is coating roads in Oklahoma City, and a semi-truck spun sideways on Interstate 40, plus whiteout conditions in parts of New York. Our Ginger Z will time it out in a moment, but first, here's Faith Abube in Wichita, Kansas.
Tonight, icy wrecks all over the heartland as a massive winter storm slams the country. In Oklahoma City this morning, freezing rain turned roads to ice rinks. Watch as this Lowe's truck spins all the way around, fishtailing before regaining traction. This on-ramp just too icy for that truck to get up. A big rig blocking traffic on Interstate 40.
You can see the backup behind him. I mean, that has got I-40 down to one lane, it looks like.
This dash cam video showing an Oklahoma Turnpike Authority plow truck getting sideswiped into the guardrail by an 18-wheeler. Parts of Kansas could get more than a foot of snow. The same system dumping up to 2 feet in the Rockies. This avalanche spotted by drivers along I-70 in Frisco, Colorado, Monday. And it's all fueled by the coldest air of the season. Chicago this morning felt like 21 below zero. And the death toll rising in Kentucky to at least 14. The hard-hit region now bracing for up to 6 inches of snow. And here in Wichita, officials are urging drivers to stay off the roads because of blowing snow, up to 8 inches in total expected. And Lindsay, it is brutally cold. By morning, we're expecting the wind chills to feel like 20 degrees below zero. Lindsay.
Bundle up, brutally cold. Thank you so much, Faith. Millions are on alert tonight for more snow, ice, and that really frigid temperature. Here to track it all for us is our chief meteorologist, Ginger Z. Hey, Ginger.
Oh, Lindsay, I feel bad saying this because it feels biting cold, but this is nothing compared to what is happening out west and north and west of this storm system that we're about to track. So from Oklahoma City to Virginia Beach, we've got winter storm warnings on the map. There are quite a few advisories too, but the warnings of where you're going to see that storm tonight right along I-40. We've already seen 4 to 5 inches of snowfall in northeast of Tulsa to Rogers, Arkansas, which is just over the state line there. That is going to keep blasting through the east, and Nashville will get it overnight. The heaviest snow will fall north and west of Nashville, but they will most certainly get, a really tough commute in the morning. Also from Norfolk to Virginia Beach down to northeast of Raleigh, that's where the heaviest snow will fall. Norfolk is already at average. They're going to blast above average for the season with this storm. And then on Thursday, it's mostly just kind of these, sputtery storms behind it. So bulk of it is gone on Thursday, but most of the northeast here, we miss out. Now, it's about that cold, and we're talking record cold. Numbers look like 16 below for the actual air temperature Thursday morning in Omaha. Baton Rouge could break records. Anything that is circled there would be a broken daily record. So this is some serious cold, and things do start to moderate, Lindsay, next week.
Tense cold there. All right, Ginger, thank you. President Trump is defending the mass firings of thousands of federal workers tonight. Our senior political correspondent Rachel Scott reports once again from West Palm Beach, Florida.
Tonight, President Trump defending the speed and scope of the dramatic layoffs sweeping through the federal government. Amid the push to purge the workforce, mistakes being made. Hundreds of workers at the National Nuclear Security Administration were fired. Sources say officials unaware the agency is responsible for managing the nation's nuclear stockpile, then scrambling to hire those workers back.
Some of these workers focused on nuclear weapon security were immediately rehired. Do you have any concerns about how these terminations have
No, not at all. I think we have to just do what we have to do. In some cases, they'll fire people and then they'll put some people back, not all of them, because a lot of people were let go. Don't forget, I got elected on the basis of making our government stronger and smaller.
Thousands of workers fired at the Department of Health and Human Services, where today the new secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., addressed those who remain. His team telling them selfies are welcome. Kennedy declaring HHS will now study possible causes of chronic diseases.
Some of the possible factors we will investigate were formerly taboo or insufficiently scrutinized. A childhood vaccine schedule, electromagnetic radiation, glyphosate, other pesticides, ultra-processed foods, artificial food additives, SSRI and other psychiatric drugs, PFAs, PFOAs, microplastics. Nothing is going to be off limits.
But tonight, the head of the FDA's food division, under Kennedy, is stepping down. Jim Jones saying the firings at the agency demonstrate the Trump administration's disdain for the very people necessary to implement the department's agenda of improving the health of Americans. And he's not the only top-level official to leave in protest. The head of the Social Security Administration resigning after Elon Musk's staff demanded access to an internal data system that includes sensitive information of millions of Americans.
And Linsey, the administration has not said just how long these firings will last or how many people will be impacted. Every day seems to be a new agency, and sources say tomorrow layoffs could begin at the IRS. Linsey.
Rachel, thank you. For more now, we are joined by Representative Jimmy Gomez, a Democrat on the House Ways and Means Committee, which oversees the IRS and Social Security Administration. Congressman, thank you so much for your time tonight. As you know, there have been questions about what Elon Musk's role is exactly. The White House has said that Musk, quote, has no formal authority to make government decisions. If that's the case, to your understanding, who's heading Doge?
Well, that's exactly the point, that he has no formal role. He hasn't been confirmed by the Senate. And he shouldn't be in charge of anything. And right now, he's trying to gain access to the IRS system, to the Treasury system, to Social Security system, and get a hold of Americans' most sensitive personal information, from Social Security numbers to bank account numbers to routing numbers, you name it. He's trying to get a hold of that. Nobody knows why. And I know it's this broad term of fraud, trying to track down fraud and abuse. But what the fraud and abuse that it's actually occurring is actually being done by Elon Musk and his tech bros.
Just today, though, a D.C. judge denied a request to block Doge from carrying out mass firings and accessing sensitive data. So what's your response now at this point that this judge has weighed in?
Right now, an undisclosed disclosure of taxpayer information is punishable by $5,000 fine and 5 years in prison. And you basically had for a few weeks, for about 7 days, access to that system of the Treasury system by one of the Doge staffers that hasn't been trained, he hasn't been verified, and he's a political appointee. So now you have basically Secretary Bessent giving access to the entire database of the taxpayer of the Treasury payment portal to Doge. That is insane, because it is such sensitive information that they shouldn't even have any access to it.
And when you say you're going to fight every step of the way, what are you going to do specifically? I mean, as you just mentioned, the Ways and Means Committee has oversight over the IRS. We've just learned layoffs will begin there tomorrow, and we've been reporting that Elon Musk and Doge have requested that access to personal taxpayer information. You've called it a five-alarm fire. Is this legal?
No, it's not. And that's going to be fought out in the courts, but there is a statute called 6103F that basically says that any undisclosed information of anybody, any taxpayer, is against the law. There always has to, even in the Ways and Means Committee that can get access to the files, we have to do it in a closed executive session. We have to do it by vote of the committee. And then you basically can't even take in your phone or any device with you. So this is a big, big deal. And here's the thing. Once they have access to your bank account number, your routing number, they can take money out of your account. They can move it. So let's say that they don't like what they're seeing. They can politicize the IRS. They can politicize the taxpayer portal. They can use that to basically put pressure. People say, oh, that's never going to happen. But we know that that this administration has already trying to politicize the DOJ by withdrawing charges against the mayor of New York, right? So they're willing to use things that have never been politicized to further their own ends.
That's going to be really alarming to a number of Americans, what you just said. I mean, is there anything that they have suggested that gives you reason to believe that they might, if they have access to your account number and routing number, simply take money out of your account?
Well, we know that they're trying to claw back money that's gone to nonprofits, correct? They're trying to claw back money that has been going to quote unquote woke and DEI initiatives or programs. So say that a nonprofit in my area received money for LGBTQ job training or combating climate change. They can say, you know what, we gave you a grant, the federal government gave you a grant, we want that money back. Oh, you already spent it? Doesn't matter, we have access to your account and we're gonna be able to take whatever that amount is out of your account. That could happen. So yes, I'm concerned that a lot of these people are leaving because I think it's gonna make all Americans worse off.
Representative Jimmy Gomez of California, we thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Of course, thank you.
Today, President Donald Trump signed an executive order designed to expand access to in vitro fertilization. The order directs the Domestic Policy Council to research how to make IVF treatments more affordable for Americans, both for those using insurance and people paying out of pocket. It has no immediate impact on the cost of IVF. According to the nonprofit Health Policy Research Center, KFF, IVF costs on average between $9,000 and $14,000. Tonight, the first high-profile meeting between the U.S. and Russia in nearly 3 years. Secretary of State Marco Rubio discussed the war with Ukraine with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Ukraine was not in the meeting. And late today, President Trump said of Ukraine, "You should have never started it. You could have made a deal," even though the world witnessed Russia invade Ukraine. Our chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell reports tonight from Ukraine.
Tonight, in a radical break with the past, the US and Russia agreeing to work together for the first time in almost 3 years. The two sides discussing how to end Russia's war in Ukraine, but doing so without any Ukrainian officials present.
We couldn't have imagined a better result after this session.
Today is the first step of a long and difficult journey, but an important one.
President Trump just moments ago claiming he has the power to end this war and falsely blaming Ukraine for Russia's invasion.
And I think I have the power to end this war. And I think it's going very well. But today I heard, oh, well, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal.
This is a major win for the Kremlin after being isolated from the West diplomatically and financially. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov already taking a victory lap, saying the US is finally starting to listen to Moscow. But this thaw in relations is sending a shiver down the spine of Europe and, above all, Ukraine, neither invited to this meeting. Now, European leaders are set together in Paris for a second day of an emergency summit. The French Prime Minister saying today we're witnessing an unthinkable alliance between Putin and Trump that's marginalising Europe on its own soil.
Linsey, President Trump's claim that Ukraine is to blame for the war is just totally false. It was Russia that invaded Ukraine in 2014 and again in 2022. And even tonight, Ukrainian cities like Odessa are being bombed once again by Russia. Linsey?
All right, Ian, thank you. The Vatican provided a major update on Pope Francis's health today, saying that the 88-year-old Catholic leader has pneumonia in both lungs and will remain in the hospital. ABC News Chief International Correspondent James Longman is in Vatican City for us with the latest. James?
Linsey, certainly a concerning development. Pope Francis is now fighting pneumonia. The 88-year-old had a CT scan today which showed that he had an infection in both of his lungs. More serious, of course, than the bronchitis that he had been earlier diagnosed with, and that feeds in to the complex clinical picture we had been told about. Remember, when he was younger, he had part of a lung removed. Now, we don't know how long he's going to be in the hospital, but the Vatican has cleared his diary until at least through the weekend. All this, though, he is in good spirits, we are told, and he thanks all those who've been sending him messages of support. Linsey?
All right, James, thank you. Native American activist Leonard Peltier was released from prison today after former President Biden commuted his sentence. Peltier has spent nearly 50 years behind bars, but always maintained his innocence. He was convicted of killing 2 FBI agents in 1975. He released a statement reading in part, "Today, I am finally free. They may have imprisoned me, but they never took my spirit." Peltier is a member of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians, and he'll be returning to his Turtle Mountain community. A Superior Court judge in Washington, D.C. has awarded a historically black church control over the Proud Boys trademark after the far-right group defaulted on a $2.8 million judgment. The Metropolitan African Methodist Episcopal Church now has the rights to the Proud Boys name and bars the Proud Boys from selling any merchandise with the group's name or symbols. The church was originally awarded the $2.8 million to try to recoup damages after members of a pro-Trump rally vandalized their church in December of 2020. After just one day of deliberations, the jury has reached a verdict in the case of rapper A$AP Rocky. He's been on trial for 2 felony counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, accused of firing a gun at a former friend. I want to check in now with ABC's Alex Stone, who's outside the courthouse. Alex, thanks so much for joining us. We know that the reading of that verdict is now imminent. What are you hearing about the timing?
Yeah, Lindsay, any moment right now. We have not seen A$AP Rocky arrive yet. We saw his attorney, Joe Tacopina. He arrived in a black SUV a few moments ago. Although A$AP Rocky may have gone through an underground entrance where every now and then they'll allow celebrities to go that way where the judges and court staff normally go. The 9th floor of this building, everybody is gathering right now. The jury will come in and the verdict will be read. Took them less than 4 hours today. We got the tick-tock of their deliberations. They went in around 9:30 this morning. They took a lunch break, and then they announced about an hour and 15 minutes ago, that they had reached a verdict. So very quick, after 3.5 weeks of testimony, almost a month of this trial, they do have a verdict. It's going to be read any moment.
It does seem very fast. What, if anything, did we hear from the jury today?
We haven't heard anything, Lindsay, from the jury today. They were very quiet. No notes came out, no questions. They didn't ask for any readback of testimony. They didn't ask to see any evidence. There's not a lot of evidence to see. Maybe the shell casings that A$AP Rocky claims were evidence of a shooting that the LAPD did not find, that he found on his own and then brought to the LAPD. The defense claiming that those were not authentic shell casings from any shooting, because the defense claims that this was not a real shooting and that it was blanks that were fired. There was some grainy surveillance video that was included into evidence as well, but that's about it. As we've talked about, no gun, whether it be a fake gun as the defense claimed, a prop gun, or a real authentic 9mm. Nobody knows where that gun is, so the jury was not able to see it.
All right, Alex Stone, our thanks to you. Of course, we'll come back to you as soon as we do hear that verdict. The family of a passenger who died in the deadly mid-air collision near Washington, D.C. has filed legal claims against the FAA and U.S. Army. The filings are seeking $250 million in compensations for each claim, all filed on behalf of Rachel Crafton. Her husband, Casey, was one of the 64 people killed on board the American Airlines passenger jet last month. The filings are likely the beginning of a lengthy legal battle. The FAA and U.S. Army have 6 months to respond. Coming up, President Trump promised to speed up the deportation of immigrants who came to this country illegally, but new numbers suggest that's not going according to plan. And next, the Trump administration is signaling diminished support for Ukraine as it defends against a Russian invasion, how Europe and NATO are preparing for their future security without America's help.
Listen to me. You can do anything.
It's now or never.
Let's go.
We got a feeling we were getting a glimpse of the future.
The Oscars.
Hosted by me, Conan O'Brien.
Sunday, March 2nd, live on ABC and Hulu.
Sly Stone was an innovator.
They sounded like nothing else sounds.
They were doing church,
blues, soul, funk, rock. Sly was the creator,
writer,
producer,
thinker,
poet.
His songs have been sampled by tons of artists.
He opened the portal. Oh yeah, come this way.
I found a beautiful Latino woman, and now I'm proud to say I have 3 kids, Puerto Rican. 3 Puerto Rican kids. Their names are Nina, Pinta, and Santa Maria. I have my daughters, but then I also have a 13-year-old stepson, all right? I love my stepson. He's almost like my family. He sleeps right there on my property.
Mr. President?
You were the last person to see the president alive.
Pink's trying to warn me.
Agent Collins, you're the only one I really trust, and I want to tell you the truth.
You're about to be entrusted with top secret information.
The president did something.
You're gonna want to hear this.
The biggest secret is right under your nose.
What aren't you telling me?
Wendy Williams, facing her new reality, life under guardianship. Now, the all-new interview with Wendy.
Wendy, how are you doing?
I'm still in prison, so to speak.
And the diagnosis of dementia.
Wendy, my next question, if I may. Do you think you have dementia?
No. It's what I've been accused of, believe it or not. How dare you?
An army of devoted fans taking up her cause.
She should be able to enjoy her life the way she wants to enjoy her life.
Ain't nothing wrong with Wendy Williams.
What's happening with Wendy Williams, now streaming on Hulu. The news never stops.
From Tampa, we are here tonight as Hurricane Milton has just made landfall.
The surge just keeps coming up.
Right on the border between Ukraine and Russia.
In downtown Tel Aviv, rockets or missiles coming in.
ABC News Live everywhere.
We're not far from where this rally took place, so just stick with us here.
Here in London.
From the front lines.
Off the coast of Gaza. Wherever the story is.
We're going to take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live, streaming free everywhere.
Welcome back, everyone. Possible talks to mediate an end to Russia's war against Ukraine are moving quickly, with Russian and U.S. officials meeting in Saudi Arabia today, and U.S. General Keith Kellogg arriving in Kyiv Wednesday for 3 days of meetings with President Zelensky and other Ukrainian officials. But European leaders are worried the Trump administration does not have Ukraine's best interests in mind. Foreign correspondent Tom Sophie-Burge now reports from Estonia and Poland, where U.S. troops and weaponry still act as a deterrence against Russian aggression.
Along a vast front line, and after nearly 3 years, Russia's invasion of Ukraine is raging on. Even on Monday night, with peace talks about to get underway, smoke rising over Kyiv's skyline after Russia launched one of its largest ever drone attacks since the war began. Now, President Trump is pressing on with his plan to try and end the fighting. In Riyadh, Saudi Arabia today, Secretary of State Marco Rubio sitting across from Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, the pair agreeing to appoint ambassadors to Washington, D.C. and Moscow as a first step.
In order to bring an end to any conflict, there has to be concessions made by all sides. We're not going to predetermine what those are.
But Lavrov ruling out any peacekeeping force of European troops on Ukrainian soil to police a hypothetical ceasefire. Russia seeking to further undermine Ukraine's sovereignty, claiming more Ukrainian land, and Moscow demanding new elections in Ukraine. Ukrainian officials say Moscow seeks a pro-Russian puppet government in Kyiv. Trump himself speaking on the phone with Ukrainian President Zelensky last week, but only after a 90-minute call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Kremlin-controlled TV calling the Trump-Putin call an historic event. It signals a dramatic turnaround in US-Russian relations, with Trump saying the two leaders agreed to work together very closely and suggesting Putin could even be invited to the US.
I'll be dealing with President Putin largely on the phone, and we ultimately expect to meet. In fact, we expect that he'll come here and I'll go there.
Trump's apparent admiration for Putin sparking concern in Europe. European leaders gathering Monday in Paris for an emergency meeting. The European Union's top diplomat earlier warning against a, quote, quick and dirty deal, which could appease Putin, arguing Ukraine must be an equal partner at the table.
It is clear that any deal behind our backs will not work. Any agreement will need also Ukraine and Europe being part of it, and this is clear that appeasement also always fails.
Vice President Vance going face-to-face with Ukrainian President Zelensky at a key security conference in Munich Friday. Ukraine playing President Trump's transactional game, putting an offer on the table linked to American access to Ukrainian minerals and other resources. Part of the talks between the US and Ukraine amid the tight security here in Munich is about a trade-off. How would America benefit if it continues to back Ukraine? But Trump officials indicating the US role in supporting Ukraine will be reduced, and Europe will have to plug the gap and step up more on the broader defense of Europe.
I think Europe is looking essentially at a post-American future for maintaining its security. I think the Trump administration very much wants to shift the burden of responsibility for European security to Europeans.
We're on a military training exercise right up in northeastern Europe in the small Baltic nation of Estonia.
Here, battle groups, including American troops, wargame it out.
Our mission here is to deter any aggressors within the eastern NATO flank.
This eastern flank is where European NATO nations meet Russia. And these exercises are about increasing the readiness of NATO's joint task force if the threat from Moscow becomes real here.
Well, this is the NATO deterrent. British, French, Estonian and US boots on the ground. And all of this happening just a short distance from Estonia's eastern border with Russia.
Trump's new defense secretary last week on his first foreign trip to Europe, suggesting European and non-European troops could be used as a non-NATO peacekeeping mission in Ukraine to police a potential ceasefire. But Pete Hegseth saying there'll be no US boots on the ground, and Ukraine must give up on land taken by Russia over the past decade.
We want, like you, a sovereign and prosperous Ukraine. But we must start by recognizing that returning to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders is an unrealistic objective.
But even before formal peace talks between Ukraine and Russia get going, top officials in Estonia are sounding the alarm.
Ukraine is not today in the position to start negotiations, that they need to have the stronger position, because when you're going to the negotiations from the weak position, then Russia will use it.
We truly believe that if Russia is winning in Ukraine, then Russia might have next goals ahead, and one might be in this region to weaken the West, to divide NATO countries.
And on America's role in guaranteeing security in Europe, the Trump administration saying European nations should do more and pay more for their own collective defense.
And that's why our message is so stark to our European allies. Now is the time to invest, because you can't make an assumption that America's presence will last forever.
The US's central role within NATO and in defending Europe is well illustrated inside this highly sensitive base in northern Poland. ABC News given rare access to the most sophisticated ballistic missile defense system anywhere in Europe.
Is it a game changer, the system, for Europe?
It is very much a game changer, because again, an adversary has to be able to contend with the fact that this site exists.
It's called an Aegis Ashore, and it's operated by its American crew 24/7.
We're inside one of 3 of the base's launch sites, and inside these giant casings are 8 interceptor missiles, ready, if needs be, to be fired up into orbit to take out a ballistic missile threat.
Eastern European nations like Poland and the Baltics are already ramping up their spending on defense, even embracing an ambitious target suggested by President Trump of 5% of their GDP, way higher than what the US proportionally spends.
We have this understanding that we need to do more, because from the defense point of view, it's much cheaper to spend 5% during the peacetime comparing to 30% of your GDP during the wartime.
But at NATO last week, a dramatic admission over the scale of the challenge. The alliance's Secretary General saying Russia currently produces more ammunition in 3 months than the entire production of NATO countries, including the US, in over a year. Analysts say Trump's goal of reducing the American military footprint in Europe is valid, but warn it won't be easy to achieve, and there are risks.
I think most Americans would say that it's past time that Europe take responsibility for its own defense. But I think if there's an assumption that the United States can simply pull out and Europe can immediately fill the void, I think that's where could put Europe in a very dangerous position.
A rather precarious position. Our thanks to Tom Sufi-Burrage. Coming up, the staff exodus at the FDA, including the division head who helps ensure the safety of America's food. Today, a cell phone ban goes into effect in one of the country's largest school districts, and a new study finds the average teen spends much of their school day on their smartphone. Just how connected your kids are in class by the numbers. Stay with us.
From Pixar comes an all-new original series.
Everyone is chasing the feeling of a win.
Hey, Lori, you're famous.
But if someone wins,
You're not funny.
somebody has to lose.
What did I just do?
One story.
Hey, Lori!
No matter what happens,
You are all winners. Told from 8 sides.
We'll make it work. We always do.
Better not blow it.
Disney Pixar's Win or Lose. Available February 19th only on Disney+.
Mr. President?
You were the last person to see the president alive.
Pink's trying to warn me.
Agent Collins, you're the only one I really trust, and I want to tell you the truth.
You're about to be entrusted with top secret information.
The president did something. You're going to want to hear this.
The biggest secret is right under your nose.
What aren't you telling me?
I love this version of me. America's #1 most watched daytime talk show is ABC's The View.
You all heard it here first. I love it. I'm there for it.
Hot topics, political views.
That's what we're about.
Voices that matter. It all goes down right here.
That's why it's called the what? The View. I love it. I'm all in. Second that. This is going to be must-see TV, and so much could happen.
Flystone was an innovator. They sounded like nothing else sounds. They were doing church, blues, soul, funk, rock. Sly was the creator, writer, producer, thinker, poet.
His songs have been sampled by tons of artists.
He opened a portal. Oh yeah, come this way.
I found a beautiful Latina woman, and now I'm proud to say I have 3 kids, Puerto Rican. 3 Puerto Rican kids. Their names are Nina, Pinta, and Santa Maria. I have my daughters, but then I also have a 13-year-old stepson, all right? I love my stepson. He's almost like my family. He sleeps right there on my property.
The news never stops. We are here in Israel, a nation at war.
Hurricane Helene screaming across the state, and that's why ABC News Live never stops.
Taking you to the center of the story.
As news breaks live.
ABC News Live is there for you all morning live.
Right there, as events unfold across the day, breaking down the day's top stories. ABC News Live Prime going there, wherever the story is.
And ABC News Live lighting up the weekend.
ABC News Live.
Because the news never stops.
Amanda Riley was a mother, wife.
Everybody loved her.
I heard the words, "You have stage 3 blood cancer."
We gave our hearts, our prayers. We thought she was God's gift, but she was a liar.
Why would somebody fake cancer?
There's all these pictures of her in the hospital with IVs, tubing. It was only a matter of time until Amanda's whole world came tumbling down.
Oh my God!
The all-new shocking episode of Scamanda, Thursday night on ABC.
From the 2024 campaign trail in Erie, Pennsylvania, I'm Rachel Scott. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Welcome back, everyone. As more school districts consider banning smartphones, a new study finds the average teen spends a good chunk of their school day on one. So tonight, we'll look at what researchers have uncovered by the numbers. A new study led by Seattle Children's Research Institute tracked 117 kids between the ages of 13 to 18 who owned a smartphone. They found the average teen spent nearly a quarter of the school day texting, streaming, or scrolling sites like Instagram. That breaks down to them spending on average 1.5 hours on their smartphones during an average 6.5-hour school day. And 1 in 4 teens spent more than 2 hours on their phones during the school day. And mind you, we're just talking about the school day, not tacking on what they're then doing at home. Finally, teens with problematic screen use are twice as likely to have anxiety. That's according to the National Institute for Health and Care Research. And it's also important to remember that the CDC has linked frequent social media use to poor mental health among adolescents, which includes an increased risk of depression and suicide. Coming up, filmmaker Will Packer has produced big budget hits like Ride Along and Girls Trip. He's here with invaluable advice from his new motivational book, Who Better Than You? The Art of Healthy Arrogance and Dreaming Big. And a little too close for comfort, what NASA is saying about a massive asteroid that's heading our way.
Amanda Riley was a mother, wife.
Everybody loved her.
I heard the words, "You have stage 3 blood cancer."
We gave our hearts, our prayers. We thought she was God's gift, but she was a liar.
Why would somebody fake cancer?
There's all these pictures of her in the hospital with IVs, tubing. It was only a matter of time until Amanda's whole world came tumbling down.
Oh my God! The all-new shocking episode of Scamanda, Thursday night on ABC.
You wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you.
Jalen Hurts, you and the Philadelphia Eagles just won the Super Bowl. What are you going to do next?
I'm going to Disney World.
What's good to watch, read? Where can I get a great deal on what I'm just dying to buy? Oh, it's all right here. GMA Life. All the exclusive and buzziest celebrity good stuff. Deals and steals with amazing savings and the coolest lifestyle tips from Good Morning America. Get excited!
I love that so much. It's time for GMA Life.
GMA Life, streaming weekends on ABC News Live. Your weekend just got a little better with GMA Life.
I love this version of me.
America's #1 most watched daytime talk show is ABC's The View.
You all heard it here first.
I love it. I'm there for it.
Hot topics, political views.
That's what we're about.
Voices that matter. It all goes down right here.
That's why it's called the what?
The View.
I love it. I'm all in. Second that. This is going to be must-see TV, and so much could happen.
I found a beautiful Latina woman, and now I'm proud to say I have 3 kids, Puerto Rican. 3 Puerto Rican kids. Their names are Nina, Pinta, and Santa Maria. I have my daughters, but then I also have a 13-year-old stepson. All right, I love my stepson. He's almost like my family. He sleeps right there on my property.
I'd never seen that many skeletal remains. Thousands.
This killer, he's the dumber you've never heard of.
There were mannequins, almost like it was a club.
I felt the presence of evil.
Never before a face-to-face interview with the camera.
Why now?
Let me ask you, am I the evil culprit, the accomplice? I'd like to know how the audience views me.
The Fox Hollow Murders, Playground of a Serial Killer, only on Hulu.
More than 100 people are rescued when a chairlift malfunctions. The staff exodus at the FDA, including the head of the division ensuring the safety of America's food, and why a man allegedly drove more than 700 miles to burn down a family home. These stories and more in tonight's Rundown.
When we saw all the people coming to save us, we knew that we were okay.
Skiers were rescued from a lift at a New Hampshire mountain after its rope derailed from the cable, stopping the lift mid-journey. Officials said there were about 125 people on the triple chairlift when it derailed. This is the 3rd time this month emergency crews have been called to help with a major chairlift issue at a New Hampshire ski resort. New Hampshire State Fire Marshal's office is investigating. The head of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration Food Division, which helps ensure the country's food supply is safe, resigned Monday following what he called the indiscriminate firing of roughly 89 people, according to ABC News sources. Staff working on infant formula safety and investigating unsafe food ingredients were among those fired. It comes amid questions about the authority of billionaire Elon Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency to review sensitive information and fire federal employees. The apparent leader of a group known as the Zizians has been arrested in Maryland, along with another member of the group, Maryland State Police said Monday. The Zizians have been tied to the killing of U.S. Border Patrol agent David Muir near the Canadian border in January and 5 other homicides in Vermont, Pennsylvania, and California. The number of apprehensions along the southwestern U.S. border plummeted by a third in January, according to statistics obtained by ABC News. There are nearly 62,000 apprehensions along the southwest border in January, according to data from U.S. Customs and Border Protection. down from about 96,000 in December 2024. The numbers fell even more after President Donald Trump's inauguration on January 20th, according to the data. In the 3 weeks before the inauguration, there was a daily average of more than 2,000 apprehensions. A Michigan man has been arrested and charged with 6 counts of attempted homicide after driving more than 700 miles and allegedly setting fire to the Pennsylvania home of a man who had been communicating with his ex-girlfriend, police said. In his interview with police, the suspect denied being in the area. Fire and police officials began investigating the cause of the fire and discovered that it appeared to be intentionally set and incendiary in nature, according to local police. Officials said 2 dogs died in the fire and 6 people were taken to the hospital. The chances of an asteroid striking Earth within the next decade has more than doubled in a matter of weeks, according to NASA astronomers. The asteroid, discovered just after Christmas and named 2024 YR4, could strike the planet in December of 2032, according to NASA's Center for Near-Earth Object Studies. The asteroid measures between 130 feet and 330 feet in diameter and is large enough to potentially cause localized damage.
Acclaimed filmmaker Will Packer has produced and executive produced a wide range of movies that have grossed more than $1 billion worldwide at the box office, including 10 films that have opened at #1. In his new motivational book, Who Better Than You? The Art of Healthy Arrogance and Dreaming Big, he shares stories from the front lines of Hollywood to show people how to manifest their own success. And joining us now in studio is none other than Mr. Will Packer himself. Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course. I'm really, really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, I just got to ask, I mean, you're used to making big-time movies, arguably one of the most influential filmmakers in Hollywood. Why write a book?
Because it's just what you just said. Because on my way to becoming a big-time influential filmmaker with stats that sound good on a show like this, I learned so much, Lindsay. I learned that being around some of the most successful, ego-driven, sometimes toxic, but famous people in the world is that they all share some very similar traits. One of them is what I call healthy arrogance. This concept of supreme confidence that when they walk into a room, they not only deserve to be there, but they add something to the room. The room is better because they are there. These are things that I think are transferable that anybody in any industry can use, no matter who they are. So being around these people and having nearly 3 decades in the movie industry, I decided to write a book to tell stories about what it's like being in Hollywood, but also to talk about how you can manifest a better life for yourself, but also how you can work to make sure that others understand your value. There's a commonality in your value and in shared goals. And if you're able to get other people to understand how they benefit from you being successful, then your success is easier to come by.
I have a friend who said a boss told him at one point, "You are too arrogant." And he said, "I'm not arrogant, I'm confident."
Right.
And so there are people who are going to read this title and see this healthy arrogance. And how do you compare that confidence versus cockiness?
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, Hollywood is the land of unsubstantiated hubris, so I understand that perspective. Arrogance walks into a room and says, I win because you lose, because I'm better than you, right? Healthy arrogance says that there's nobody on the earth that's more deserving of success than me, but I realize that my success and your success are tied to each other. That's what true leadership is the ability to get you to understand that together we can both be successful.
Give me a sense of how you balance the cultural impact with commercial success.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will, if you look at just your resume, you can see you've had all these big box office hits. And at the same time, you've been a big person who's brought diversity and inclusion into films.
I have, yeah. I mean, I've listen, as a high achieving person of color, make no mistake, I know that the bar has always been very, very high. I don't have 10 #1 movies at the black box office. I have 10 #1 movies, period.
Big difference.
The reason that I have that is because I have the best people around me who happen to be black, white, male, female, gay, straight, doesn't matter. I know that there's a value in having a diversity of thought and perspectives around me.
All right, last question, although I could continue going on. You say in the book, the only bad thing about being first is being first.
Yeah.
How have you navigated being first?
Yeah, you know what? And I say that in the chapter where I talk about it sounds so good to be first, but it's a lonely road, right? Whatever you're the first person to do, it sounds like, oh, that's so great, but you're the only one to do it. And you wonder, am I doing it right? Am I crazy? There's a reason nobody else has done this, right? What I say is you stay focused on you, right? This book is a lot about internal conversations and realizing your internal self-worth and not allowing external factors to minimize your self-worth. So I don't care if you're the first, the only person in a room, you know what that does? It makes you unique. It makes everybody else in the room not have something that you have because you're different than the rest of them. Double down on that, triple down on that fact.
And while you have built a multi-billion-dollar empire, a lot of people are going to think, oh, this is just about Hollywood. But we do want to let our viewers know that this book, Who Better Than You? The Art of Healthy Arrogance and Dreaming Big, is actually just about having success in any field.
Absolutely.
Will
Yes.
Packer, we thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. Want to let our viewers know Who Better Than You? The Art of Healthy Arrogance and Dreaming Big is now available to purchase wherever you buy your books. Former President Jair Bolsonaro of Brazil has been charged for attempting a coup to stay in power after his 2022 election defeat. The prosecutor general who filed the charges alleges that Bolsonaro and 33 others participated in a plan to remain in power despite losing to current President Lula da Silva. And we do have breaking news now. There is a verdict in the ASAP Rocky trial in Los Angeles. You see live pictures there. Joe Tacopina, his attorney to his left, in the courtroom, as they all stand very nervously there awaiting that. Alex Stone, give us a sense of, I mean, this was a very quick deliberation for the jury. I guess the rule of thumb is that tends to go in favor of the defense.
Typically, yeah, when it's a quick return. We're going to hear this any moment here now where you can see that ASAP Rocky and others, they have their heads down. They're looking serious. The verdict is about to be read if you want to listen in.
I'd like you to look over her shoulder so you can review the verdict forms. And I want to know from you whether these are your true and correct verdicts. Once I've heard from both of you, give the verdict forms to juror number 3. Juror 3, look at the verdict forms. Juror 4, look over her shoulder. So ultimately, I'm going to want to hear from all 12 of you whether these verdict forms reflect your individual true and correct verdicts. Everybody understand? All right. You're going to put these two in the Juror number 1, are those your true and correct verdicts? Yes. Juror number 2?
Yes.
Juror 3 and 4?
Yes.
Juror 5 and 6? Juror 5, are those your true and correct verdicts? Yes. Juror 6? Yes. All right, let's get the verdict forms to Juror 7. Juror 8, look over your shoulder. Juror number 7, those are your true and correct verdicts? Juror 7?
Yes.
Juror 8? Yes. 9 and 10? Juror 9?
Yes.
Juror 10?
Yes.
11 and 12. Juror 11?
Yes.
Juror 12?
Yes.
All right, all jurors have stated that the verdict forms reflect their individual true and correct verdicts. Alex, read the verdict.
Yes, Your Honor.
The Los Angeles Superior Court, County of Los Angeles. People of the State of California versus Joaquin Mayers. Case number BA 508142-01. We, the jury of the above entitled action, find the defendant, Joaquin Mayers, not guilty of the
Not against the audience. Or you cannot get the audience.
Hold it down, hold it down. verdict has to be read on count.
Yes, repeat again. We, the jury, above entitled actions, find the defendant, Rakeem Mayers, not guilty of the semi-automatic firearm in violation of Penal Code Section 245, Section B, a felony. Is charging count one of the information this 18th day of February 2025, jury seat number 9, 4%.
All right.
Title of court and costs. We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Rakeem Mayers, not guilty of the crime of assault with a firearm in violation of Penal Code Section 245, Section B, a felony of charging count two of the information this 18th day of February 2025, juror seat number 9, 4%.
During this trial, I watched you periodically. You did what we asked of you at the very beginning, which is to give both sides a fair trial, pay attention, use your common sense, apply the law, base your verdict on the evidence. I know you took extensive notes, and you took this as seriously as any jury could. We cannot have jury trials without folks like you. So you certainly have my gratitude. I want to extend to you my best wishes. Again, thank you. The admonition to not discuss the case no longer applies. You can talk about the case with anybody you want to, or nobody if you don't want to. Alex has your certificates of completion. You can take your juror badges with you. Thank you again. You are excused.
Everybody remain seated in the public. We're going to let the jurors walk out first.
And you just heard it there. ASAP Rocky found not guilty of felony assault. A lot of jubilation, elation in the courtroom after the reading of that verdict. Just day one of one day of deliberations there. The jury reached the verdict there in rapper ASAP Rocky's trial. He's been on trial for 2 felony counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, accused of firing a gun at a former friend. I want to check back in with ABC's Alex Stone, who's outside of the courthouse. Alex, thanks so much for coming back on. You've been tracking this case for a while. Were you surprised at all about this quick verdict?
Well, it was quick. And Linsey, I mean, we've been saying for the last 2 weeks that there was really no evidence in this case, in that it was going to be up to these jurors to decide what they thought of the testimony that came in and who they believed. There was no gun. This was all about the gun. What they had to decide was it a real gun or was it a fake gun? It appears that they have decided that there was no proof it was a real gun, that the proof was not there based on that gun not existing, and only the alleged victim, who, by the way, is suing ASAP Rocky for quite a bit of money, was claiming that it was a real gun. There was a lot of cheering here outside the courthouse as well as it came down, and people were watching, streaming on their devices out here. You saw in the courtroom ASAP Rocky jump over the barrier into the gallery and hug family members, and the judge having to say, okay, everybody calm down, come back please and read the next count, not guilty again. The emotion there from Joe Tacopina, from other members of the defense team, just big hugs. That ASAP Rocky took a big risk here. He was offered a plea deal for about 6 months in county jail. He said no. Had he been found guilty, he could have gotten 24 years in prison. This was a very big risk, and he won that risk.
And I think that that's perhaps what we saw there with all of the joy and the nerves, even before, when you saw Joe Tacopina just kind of rocking in his stance right there next to him. Alex Stone, we thank you so much for your reporting and coverage throughout this. For more on this late-breaking verdict, we want to bring in Brian Buckmeyer, defense attorney and ABC News legal contributor. Brian, thank you for joining us. ASAP Rocky was cleared of these charges. Let's talk about that plea deal, okay? Because he had a chance. Give us a sense of what the plea deal was, and he decided, he and Joe Tacopina, his attorney, we're going to go to trial either way.
Yeah, so I've been here before talking with clients about plea deals. And whenever I talk about plea deals, I think there are 3 things that you need to think about. 1, the deal. 2, the maximum penalty. And 3, how it's going to affect you personally. Now, the plea deal as it applied for ASAP Rocky, was 6 months in jail and 3 months of probation with a 7-year suspended sentence. Meaning if he had messed up on probation, he could have served more time. But ultimately, if he did everything he was supposed to do, it would only have been 6 months in jail. Now, if he had gone to trial and lost, each one of those 2 charges is 3 to 9 years in prison, plus a gun enhancement. And that's why you heard a lot of people talk about a maximum of 24 years. Now, the last part, how it affects an individual person. Now, if A$AP Rocky goes to jail, I'm sure he can still come out and make music and make great fashion. But he's about my age. I think he's a few months younger than I am. He's 36 years old. And he actually has 2 children. His oldest is a few months older than mine. When I talk to clients like this, I talk about not just the jail time they're serving, but when they could possibly next see their child. If he had gone to prison for the max amount of time, we're talking about not seeing that almost 3-year-old child for almost 2 decades. And there was a lot on the line for him in this. And I think that's what we saw in that emotion when he leaped over the barrier or leaped over the well and hugged his family.
Any sense of what it was, the lack of evidence, perhaps? There was no, the proverbial smoking gun wasn't found. Do you have an idea of what ultimately swayed the jury here for this not guilty verdict?
So this is me reading tea leaves, but I think what really came down to is understanding what the burden and who holds it. That in a case where you have a single witness that you're asking to provide all of the evidence, an account of what happened on that day, even the collection of evidence that your own law enforcement couldn't find, and ultimately trying to make the decision between whether or not this is a real firearm, which it needs to be in order to substantiate these claims, or a fake gun or a prop gun. It's not the defense's role to put on evidence to show that it is or is not. It's the prosecution's role to do so. And I think holding the prosecution to that burden, they ultimately couldn't reach proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
And the jury only deliberated for a few hours. They didn't have any questions. What can you infer from how things went today and really throughout the trial?
I think throughout the trial, they understood who was giving them the evidence, and I don't believe that they truly found them credible. I'm talking about A$AP Rocky, or believed the facts as they asserted it. Now, no questions means they didn't need to see the shell casing. They didn't need to have readbacks. They didn't need to watch a video. I think at no point in time did the presumption of innocence, which every person has up until the verdict is read or the jury comes to a conclusion, that presumption of innocence was never wiped away by anything the jury heard. And so for 4 hours, no questions, I bet you it was just maybe 2 factions of people, regardless of what number, maybe 9 one side, 3 the other ways, or 6 and 6, whatever it is, just going back and forth and saying, this isn't proof beyond a reasonable doubt. There's no smoking gun. We don't know whether it's real or not. We can't trust A$AP Rocky. There were just too many flaws in this case, I think, for the prosecution to win.
Brian Buckmeyer, as always, appreciate your insight. Thanks so much. Mike Muse joins us now in studio. So, Mike, we were watching that together as he jumps over the partition into the arms of Rihanna. Your thoughts as you were watching that?
How emotional. And I was thinking that talk about betting on yourself. Faced with the possibility of 6 months in prison versus 24 years in prison, and you push back against that to really defend your innocence. I think there's something really unique about a person who doesn't want to take a plea deal. There's something innate in them that knows that they are innocent and they're willing to take that to court. You felt the weight of that. You also too felt the weight of A$AP Rocky being a father, right? You felt the weight of A$AP Rocky being a partner, right? But then you also too felt the weight of this trial held his career in the balance. A$AP Rocky is on this new trajectory, a new career, not a new career, but to really reestablish himself. We haven't heard any new music from him in the last 10 years. His album is slated this year. He's going to be one of the co-chairs of the Met Gala. That's huge because A$AP Rocky is known for being such a fashion influencer and really setting trends. Sometimes he outshines Rihanna in the last couple of the Met Galas that we've seen and we've heard in the previous years. He also too has a film coming out with Spike Lee too as well. Also headlining a music festival this year. So much is on the line, and we can't take out the consideration of Rihanna being his partner. We have seen previous situations when the partner gets in trouble, they do bring the spouse into it, right? And for Rihanna to have such a brand that she have, you could not help but bring these two together, although they are separately, independently with their businesses. And so that was on the line for her and so how she was going to be viewed. But something, Linsey, that really stood out to me throughout this trial is what the judge jury instructions. And I always say that the judge can make or break a case by the way that he gives the jury instructions. Part of the jury instruction that he gave is that you could also say he could pull the prop gun out of self-defense. And I found that to be really interesting. And particularly when you had the key witness, one of the witnesses was A$AP Rocky, who said that A$AP Rocky, who accused him, was actually the aggressor. And so I thought by that witness saying that ASAP Rocky was the actual aggressor, then the judge saying you could use self-defense as a reason to say not guilty, that kind of gave me confidence when I saw that the jury had reached a verdict, that this could lean more likely a not guilty verdict because of that.
You know, there was so much debate about whether we were going to see Rihanna in the courtroom or not. Ultimately, we did see her. She brought at least one of their children into court. What kind of role do you think subliminally, potentially, that played as well for the jurors?
That's such a great question. I also, too, thought that it was a brilliant strategy. I don't know if it's a strategy or just the love of a partner. What I do believe, though, is that it humanized ASAP Rocky. I think for far too often when we see these individuals, when an individual is representing, as comes from the hip-hop community, there already is a certain biases that are associated with them, right? Because a lot of times, in particular, this is why they leaned into jury selection the way that they did in the beginning, because you want to make sure that jury understands cultural nuance. You want to make sure that jury understands context. You want to understand, just as you and I just discussed, A$AP Rocky is such a fashion influencer. He has a song called Fashion Killer. That doesn't actually mean murder. That just means slang, as you know, Lindsay. Wow, you dressed really well today.
You killed it.
You killed it. But if a juror doesn't understand cultural nuance and context, that could go so wrong. And so I think that part of having Rihanna there, it reminded the jury that this is a father, right? This is a human being who has emotions. And so to try and suspend whatever biases that you have, in particular around the realm of Black men, right? Far too often the way media portrays Black men as fatherless, not being present, right? All these things help counter the balance and counter the narrative. I was in conversation once with a defense attorney who said sometimes when he was presenting evidence of DNA and technology, he felt he had two things to prove. One, he had to prove to a white jury that as a Black man, I am smart enough to understand the science of this. But then I also too had the burden to make sure that I could prove the science, they find me credible in order to get my client off so that they remove biases against him. And so we can't take out social constructs in these type of cases, and in particular in these type of situations.
So appreciate your analysis as always, Mike. Thank you. We move on now to other news at Toronto's Pearson Airport and the growing questions about just what went wrong. Investigators are closely reviewing this new video of Delta Flight 4819 making a hard landing on the right landing gear, erupting in flames, and then that thick black smoke you see right there. The plane ultimately starts to roll. And we've heard more harrowing stories from passengers who literally were hanging upside down by their seatbelts. The heroic flight crew helping everyone get off that plane. All 80 people on board survived. At least 21 were injured. 2 do remain hospitalized. But with the careful guidance from that 4-member flight crew, it was a miracle that everyone did survive. And a reminder to all of us about the importance of wearing seatbelts. ABC's Gio Benitez covers aviation and reports now from Toronto.
Tonight, this stunning new video showing the moment that Delta Airlines flight crash landed in Toronto. Investigators now reviewing the images. Its landing gear appearing to collapse. The right wing striking the ground, sparking flames, the plane flipping onto its back. A cloud of black smoke rising into the air.
We hit the runway extremely hard and we kind of popped up and it felt like we were leaning to the left. There was a giant firewall down the side. I could actually feel the heat through the glass. And then we were going sideways. I'm not even sure how many times we tumbled, but we ended upside down. I was hanging there in my seatbelt upside down.
The footage obtained by TMZ showing the Delta regional flight from Minneapolis touching down yesterday afternoon. Passenger John Nelson describing the harrowing moments inside, suspended by his seatbelt.
At this point now, you're literally hanging upside down in this plane.
I didn't want to hit my head. I wanted to make sure, I could stay safe as much as I could and just hold on and hope that we made it through that.
Everything, drop it! Flight attendants come on, seen standing on the ceiling of the plane, helping passengers scrambling to escape. Nelson shooting this video moments after the crash.
Toronto, we just landed. Our plane crashed. It's upside down. Fire department's on site.
At least 21 people injured, including a child. Patients treated for back sprains, head injuries, headaches, and nausea. But miraculously, all 80 passengers and crew were alive.
For everyone to have survived this, what does that mean to you?
I think I'm still processing it. It's when you see the videos and you live through it, nobody should have to go through that. It's crazy.
At the time of landing, winds gusting up to 40 miles per hour. The cause of the crash, though, still under investigation. The plane's charred fuselage now sitting frozen on the runway for examination. And tonight, that flight crew and those first responders who escorted everyone to safety hailed as heroes.
Every time you board a flight, you are greeted by flight attendants and by flight crew. We saw the most important role that they play in action yesterday. The crew of Delta Flight 4819 heroically led passengers to safety. I thank each and every one of these heroes.
And Linsey, so many tonight focusing on what those passengers did right, wearing those seatbelts, listening to the flight attendants, getting out of that plane fast, and leaving that luggage behind, all of it likely saving lives. Linsey?
We can imagine so, Gio, thank you. 100 million Americans are on alert for a brutal cold tonight in 25 states from the plains to the East Coast. A new winter storm is now moving in from Montana to Texas, all the way to the east, and then ultimately the mid-Atlantic. Ice is coating roads in Oklahoma City, and a semi-truck spun sideways on Interstate 40, plus whiteout conditions in parts of New York. Our Ginger Z will time it all out in a moment, but first, here's ABC's Faith Abube in Wichita, Kansas.
Tonight, icy wrecks all over the heartland as a massive winter storm slams the country. In Oklahoma City this morning, freezing rain turned roads to ice rinks. Watch as this Lowe's truck spins all the way around, fishtailing before regaining traction. This on-ramp just too icy for that truck to get up. A big rig blocking traffic on Interstate 40.
You can see the backup behind him. I mean, that has got I-40 down to one lane, it looks like.
This dash cam video showing an Oklahoma Turnpike Authority plow truck getting sideswiped into the guardrail by an 18-wheeler. Parts of Kansas could get more than a foot of snow. The same system dumping up to 2 feet in the Rockies. This avalanche spotted by drivers along I-70 in Frisco, Colorado Monday. And it's all fueled by the coldest air of the season. Chicago this morning felt like 21 below zero. And the death toll rising in Kentucky to at least 14. The hard-hit region now bracing for up to 6 inches of snow.
Millions are on alert tonight for more snow, ice, and that really frigid temperature. Here to track it all for us is our chief meteorologist, Ginger Z. Hey, Ginger.
Oh, Linsey, I feel bad saying this because it feels biting cold, but this is nothing compared to what is happening out west and north and west of this storm system that we're about to track. So from Oklahoma City to Virginia Beach, we've got winter storm warnings on the map. There are quite a few advisories too, but the warnings of where you're going to see that storm tonight right along I-40. We've already seen 4 to 5 inches of snowfall in northeast of Tulsa to Rogers, Arkansas, which is just over the state line there. That is going to keep blasting through the east, and Nashville will get it overnight. The heaviest snow will fall north and west of Nashville, but they will most certainly get, a really tough commute in the morning. Also, from Norfolk to Virginia Beach down to northeast of Raleigh, that's where the heaviest snow will fall. Norfolk is already at average. They're going to blast above average for the season with this storm. And then on Thursday, it's mostly just kind of these, sputtery storms behind it. So bulk of it is gone on Thursday, but most of the northeast here, we miss out. Now, it's about that cold, and we're talking record cold. Numbers look like 16 below for the actual air temperature Thursday morning in Omaha. Baton Rouge could break records. Anything that is circled there would be a broken daily record. So this is some serious cold, and things do start to moderate, Linsey, next week.
Tense cold there. All right, Ginger, thank you. President Trump is defending the mass firings of thousands of federal workers tonight. Our senior political correspondent Rachel Scott reports from West Palm Beach, Florida.
Tonight, President Trump defending the speed and scope of the dramatic layoffs sweeping through the federal government. Amid the push to purge the workforce, mistakes being made. Hundreds of workers at the National Nuclear Security Administration were fired. Sources say officials unaware the agency is responsible for managing the nation's nuclear stockpile, then scrambling to hire those workers back.
Some of these workers focused on nuclear weapon security were immediately rehired. Do you have any concerns about how these terminations have
No,
played out?
not at all. I think we have to just do what we have to do. In some cases, they'll fire people and then they'll put some people back, not all of them, because a lot of people were let go. Don't forget, I got elected on the basis of...
And we turn down now to some breaking news. A news conference after that ASAP Rocky not guilty verdict on felony assault. Let's listen in.
Thank you, sister. Thank you.
ASAP.
Thank you, brother.
What kept you positive? You guys need to have another baby. You guys need to have another baby.
Guys, I'm gonna.
You can hear the reporters shouting questions there. He said, "Thank you, sister. Praise be to God." It did appear when we saw him in the courtroom that he was clasping hands, perhaps in prayer, certainly in gratitude. Trying to see if we can get a glimpse of him there at the microphones.
Chill, man. Everyone relax.
See if we can get a sense of what's happening in the midst of that huddle. Oh, here's Joe Tacopina, his attorney.
Guys, look, guys. Guys. Hey, guys, we can't do this if everyone's going to yell. We'll just have to leave. But listen. Guys, listen. Guys, chill, man. Everyone relax. Guys, bottom line is we're grateful for the jury. They saw through this mirage of a case. We said from day one he was innocent. He turned down a plea for almost no jail time because he was innocent. And I've always said this was an extortion. The extortion played out live in color in court. You know, we've always said what it says is that the district attorney should look long and hard at prosecuting Tyrell Efron. We've said that from day one. They should do it now. They have him admitting to perjury. They have him committing extortion. The jury saw through it and came to an enormously quick and speedy verdict, the right verdict, and we thank this jury. And again, for me, my partner Chad, we're honored to have represented this amazing family. Rocky is one of my closest friends, but he's also just a great person. Rihanna, they are seriously the greatest people, and I said I love them, and I really do love them, and I got emotional in my summation because I care about them. This is one of the happiest days of my life, and I'm happy for them because they've earned this and deserve it. Congratulations. Thank you, brother. Okay, guys. Yo, Joe, good shit, brother.
A big hug there between ASAP Rocky and Joe Tacopina. Joe Tacopina, his attorney, saying this is one of the happiest days of his life. ASAP Rocky making a joke there when they were talking about how close the families are. He called him ASAP Joe. But he was saying how the jury was able to see through the lies and deceit of ASAP Relly there. Not many words there from ASAP Rocky, but that he is thankful to God for this verdict. Let's check back in with ABC's Alex Stone, who's outside of the courthouse. Alex, again, you and I had been talking earlier that it seemed quite often the rule of thumb is that when the jury has a quick deliberation, it often favors the defense, and that bared out to be true today.
Well, often it does, Lindsay, and mainly because if jurors are going to be potentially putting somebody away for 24 years, you would think that they would take a longer time than only 3 or 4 hours. It was just under 4 hours of deliberating. The crazy scene just down from where I am right now, and now ASAP Rocky is leaving. You can see all of the emotion from in the courtroom where he jumped into the gallery, began hugging Rihanna, began hugging other members of his family, and the judge actually saying, "Come back," so that then he could read, or the clerk could read the rest of the counts and the verdict on those counts. From our producer in the courtroom, she tells us as the jurors were leaving one by one, that ASAP Rocky said to them, and not as a group, but one by one, "Thank you all for saving my life. Thank you all. You made the right decision. Thank you." He was looking at potentially, and we talked about it, a risky situation, could have taken a plea deal. You heard Joe Tacopina talk about it as well. He decided not to, and the risk that he took was 24 years in prison. Now he is a free man. It is over. He can go home tonight. He has won this case.
And you mentioned there that what was on the line, that he could have faced 24 years in prison. But tell us about the plea deal that the prosecution had offered just before trial.
Yeah, it was right before the trial. It was going to be 6 months, along with some other terms that would have come into play, but primarily 6 months in county jail, which compared to 24 years, seems like that would have been a fairly easy deal to take if you think that, well, you risk it and potentially you get 24 years. But he decided, and Joe Tacopina, they said from the beginning that they thought they had a strong case in this. There was no proof that this was a real shooting. They have said this was a money grab by ASAP Relly from the beginning. He is also suing separately for a lot of money against ASAP Rocky, and that they thought that they could go in and win. And you see tonight, after this very quick verdict, that they were right in that. Now, there were some issues about the jury early on. In the jury pool, there were very few black members of the jury pool, less representative than in the community that they were pulling from. And then in the actual jury, there were no black members of the jury. They were Asian, Hispanic, and white, which the defense had brought up at the beginning. But in the end, they got the outcome that they wanted. This is now over. He does not have to worry about prison time in this. He and Rihanna can leave together as SUVs pulled up very quickly. They move very fast as they pull up. They moved in a few moments ago at the end of that media scrum that came together with all of the mini news conference there, but with a lot of people, and now they're out of here from the courthouse.
And Joe Tacopina is talking again. Let's listen in for a moment.
Decades in jail, we're going home. And so when you hear those words, obviously, you know, I know how he was feeling. We've been in communication for the last few hours, and there's a lot on the line. He has 2 little children. He's got a beautiful wife, and he's got a family, and so that was raw emotion. You guys got to see that, and you know, it was, even for us, I mean, it was insane. So it was just very, very satisfying.
When you and I spoke earlier, you said there's a lot on the line, you know, when it comes to this verdict. Now that everything's over with, what's next for ASAP? What's next for the whole family now that they can get past it?
Well, they promised their 3rd kid would be named ASAP Joe. So that's as far as I know. I'm kidding. You know, what's next is they're going to move on. I think they have a lot of great things professionally to do. You know, Rocky's really at the height of his career. He's working with Gucci,
yeah, it was crazy.
Puma,
ABC was shooting it off of somebody.
Obviously, Rihanna is on top of the world, and they have 2 beautiful, beautiful children, and they have a family. And you saw them come together. And you know, I took offense to the prosecutor Lewin saying that they manufactured some sort of appearance of a family in his summation. But I think the jury obviously took offense to that too. They're a family, and they were a family, and that's why she was here to support him, and that's why his kids came. He doesn't know when he's going to see them again, and if this didn't go well for him, not that I thought it wasn't going to, you know, so it was just beautiful to see. You know, this is what we do. We work hard, and these trials are hard, and they tax us, and you don't sleep. But at the end of the day, this is what it's all about. That's why I went to law school. That's why he went to law school. So you see this, and it makes it all worthwhile.
And we saw his reaction. I mean, talk to me about his demeanor, like leading up to when that verdict came in. I mean,
Dude, he was way calmer than I was. I mean, he was calming me down. So, like, I was more anxious and nervous. I mean, but that's always the way it is for me, you know, when something so important is about to happen. So he was really calm, cool, and collected. At the end, obviously, when that jury started piling in, and, you know, you can't read anyone's faces. You know, there was a tension that he said, I can't breathe, and I said, neither can I, so that makes 2 of us. And, you know, Chad and I have been together 22 years. I know how he feels, so it's just a moment of incredible angst. But
Joe Tacopina there, the defense attorney for ASAP Rocky, kind of joking around and celebrating a not guilty verdict of felony assault for his client. I want to also thank Alex Stone for his coverage tonight and throughout the recent days. That is our show for this hour. I'm Linsey Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Have a great night.
I found a beautiful Latina woman, and now I'm proud to say I have 3 kids, Puerto Rican. 3 Puerto Rican kids. Their names are Nina, Pinta, and Santa Maria. I have my daughters, but then I also have a 13-year-old stepson, all right? I love my stepson. He's almost like my family. He sleeps right there on my property.
Jalen Hurts, you and the Philadelphia Eagles just won the Super Bowl. What are you going to do next?
I'm going to Disney World.
What's good to watch, read? Where can I get a great deal on what I'm just dying to buy? Oh, it's all right here. GMA Life. All the exclusive and buzziest celebrity good stuff. Deals and steals with amazing savings and the coolest lifestyle tips from Good Morning America. Get excited!
I love that so much. It's time for GMA Life.
GMA Life, streaming weekends on ABC News Live. Your weekend just got a little better with GMA Life.
From Pixar comes an all-new original series.
Everyone is chasing the feeling of a win.
Hey, Lori, you're famous.
But if someone wins,
You're not funny.
somebody has to lose.
What did I just do?
One story.
No matter what happens, you are all winners.
Told from 8 sides.
We'll make it work.
We always do.
Better not blow it.
Disney Pixar's Win or Lose. Available February 19th only on Disney+.
Naya Rivera. She was a shining star of Glee, loved by millions. Her sudden drowning death shocked everyone. Now her ex-husband Ryan Dorsey opens up in his first TV interview and about raising their beautiful son Josie alone. The emotional and powerful all-new interview only on Good Morning America.
Reporting from the scene of the deadly midair collision outside Washington, D.C., I'm Whit Johnson. You're streaming ABC News Live.
This is Nightline.
22-year-old Morgan Geyser appearing in a Wisconsin courtroom. A far cry from the 12-year-old who admitted to a heinous act, stabbing someone they called a friend when they were both just 12 years old.
As you look at Ms. Geyser sitting here in court as an individual, whether she still presents that same risk today. She doesn't.
Morgan's attorney pleading for his client's release after being held at the Winnebago Mental Health Institute for the brutal attack that's gripped the nation for more than a decade.
When you have two 12-year-old girls luring another friend out into the woods to stab her on behalf of a mythical figure named Slender Man, it's going to be everywhere. And it was.
Now to that shocking story out of Wisconsin.
The brutal stabbing of a 12-year-old girl.
The girl told police she was with 2 other girls she knew.
The victim's friend left her to die.
In 2014, Morgan's friend, Peyton Leitner, stabbed 19 times.
Do you feel like you're a survivor?
Yeah, I shouldn't be alive. I really shouldn't after what happened.
Another friend there too, Anissa Wire, who like Morgan, would also be confined to that same mental health institute. Anissa was granted supervised release after nearly 4 years.
Who's Slender Man?
He's this tall, faceless man who preys on children.
I was hired by the defense to evaluate Morgan. I don't think she was deviously planning. I think she was feeling controlled by Slender Man. What she would tell me is that she really had no choice but to listen to Slender Man.
The brutal, premeditated attack, they say, was done to please the fictional online character Slender Man, who the kids hoped to meet at an imaginary mansion in the woods.
He could be anywhere from 6 feet to 14 feet tall. He doesn't have a face.
Did you feel bad? I just stabbed one of your best friends.
I thought about it, but then I decided that remorse will get me nowhere. It's easier to live without regrets.
Is the now grown adult behind those words truly reformed? Or still a risk to society?
In a case like this, when someone's found not guilty by reason of mental defect, the question isn't whether Morgan will be released. The question becomes when.
It was May 2014 when the saga began in Waukesha, a suburb of Milwaukee. The 3 tweens had found friendship with one another.
Go back 5 years ago to 12-year-old Peyton. How would you describe her?
Hopeful, positive, an animal lover. I saw the good in people.
Looking back, Anissa was never really invited to a lot of birthday parties or anything. I don't think she really made friends that easy.
Morgan did endure a lot of bullying, especially in the 6th grade by the other students. In the last year, she started to become moodier and a little bit more reclusive.
They knew what each other had gone through, and they were going to be there for each other.
3 12-year-old girls had a sleepover.
Happens all over the country all the time, but this one ended a little different.
911 movement. I'm transferring over a caller on Big Bend. Came upon a 12-year-old female. She appears to be stabbed.
She appears to be what?
Stabbed.
Stabbed?
Correct.
Do you remember what you said to them?
I trusted you, and then they told me to lay down. You'll lose blood slower. Like, we're gonna go get help.
My colleague, 2020 co-anchor David Muir, spoke to Peyton in 2019 in her only interview. He first met her and her parents just months after the attack.
We just knew that Peyton told us Morgan stabbed her, and the police hadn't been able to find the girls.
And in fact, police believe those girls were walking.
Yeah.
They were going to find a mansion.
They believed that there was a mansion there that Slenderman lived in.
Police say they were hoping to impress Slenderman with their actions.
Slenderman was originally created as sort of fan fiction and an extension of the campfire horror story. These images that were unclear whether they were nurturing or threatening.
After being brutally stabbed, Peyton managed to crawl out of those woods. Nearly 5 hours later, the two other preteens were found and taken into custody.
She was my only friend for a long time.
Why would you hurt your only friend?
It was necessary. It was weird. I felt no remorse. I thought I would.
It was weird that you didn't feel remorse?
I actually felt nothing.
Was it hard for you to wrap your head around what had been done to you?
No, which I guess says a lot about our friendship. I kind of wasn't really too shocked about it. After I heard why she did it, I was like, well, this doesn't surprise me at all, because she believed so hard in this thing that she would do anything for it.
When I first entered Morgan's bedroom, it just looked like a normal room for a girl of her age. But in her drawers and in the closet, there were numerous items that were disturbing in nature.
They found all kinds of strange things going on. There are strange drawings, dolls that had been mutilated.
Experts testified that Morgan had been diagnosed with early onset schizophrenia. Anissa separately was diagnosed with shared psychotic disorder.
I just want to let Bella and her family know I'm sorry. I never meant this to happen.
I think Morgan's mental health state at the time of the stabbing was obviously, she was in a bad state. We could see that obviously from all the doctor reports that were done back then.
Both Morgan and Anissa ultimately found not guilty by reason of a mental disease or defect. Authorities said Morgan was the ringleader and the one that had done the stabbing. She was committed to 40 years in a mental health institute. Anissa committed to 25 years.
It is very rare to be found not guilty by reason of mental defect. But when someone does, it means that that person was so psychologically incapable that they can't even be held responsible for a crime.
I know that nothing I say is going to make this right, Your Honor, and nothing I say is going to fix what I broke. I'm never going to let this happen again, and I'm sorry.
Anissa would be released in 2021, while Morgan continued at the Winnebago Mental Health Institute.
Morgan received a lot of treatment at Winnebago, specifically individual therapy, group therapy, and medication, really a combination of the three.
Anthony Cotton has represented Morgan since the start of the case. Morgan now identifies as a transgender man.
Morgan's certainly up there in terms of having a positive outlook and a positive attitude for the future.
At the hearing, Cotton called 3 doctors to testify on Morgan's well-being.
She has improved coping skills for managing stress.
But specifically, I don't believe that she currently poses a significant risk.
Essentially that she has had multiple opportunities to be in the community and has done very well.
All agreeing that the 22-year-old is fit to be released. Peyton's family disagreeing, releasing this statement ahead of court, saying Morgan Geyser has withdrawn her request to be released twice. More recently, her request was denied. We are confident that the judicial system will make a decision that will ensure the community and my daughter remain safe. Prosecutors arguing Morgan's credibility remains an issue.
That you should find there's clear and convincing evidence of substantial risk.
The judge ruling in favor of Morgan's early release, saying while their crime was terrible, Morgan has now grown up.
Ms. Geyser does not pose a significant risk of bodily harm to herself or others, or of serious property damage. Now, when I make that finding, I take into account the dangerousness of what happened back in 2014.
Morgan has talked about wanting to be a librarian, wanting to continue publishing her writings, wanting to be in the art field.
Despite what happened all those years ago, Cotton believes Geyser has shown remorse.
Morgan would be the first person to say it. It's unbelievable. You don't even want to discuss it, how bad it was. But Morgan committed one act, not a pattern of acts.
The judge ordered the state to come up with a plan for Morgan's supervised release.
This is not a case where Morgan will just be able to walk free and go on with life. It means that Morgan is going to have to abide by and adhere to certain requirements.
Morgan Geyser is due back in court on March 3rd for a hearing.
What's good to watch, read? Where can I get a great deal on what I'm just dying to buy? Oh, it's all right here. GMA Life. All the exclusive and buzziest celebrity good stuff. Deals and steals with amazing savings and the coolest lifestyle tips from Good Morning America.
Get excited!
I love that so much. It's time for GMA Life.
GMA Life, streaming weekends on ABC News Live. Your weekend just got a little better with GMA Life.
The news never stops.
From Tampa, we are here tonight as Hurricane Milton has just made landfall.
The surge just keeps coming up.
Right on the border between Ukraine and Russia.
In downtown Tel Aviv, rockets or missiles coming in.